This week, we've got coverage from the last event of the season for Waglers short course, and also official results from the IXCR John Vincent race. So strap in as we bring you up to the race pace. And welcome back to Race Pace, sponsored by CW Motorsports. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And we had another fantastic weekend of UTV racing out at IXCR and Wagler. And this is actually kind of the first fall race, I suppose. I think it's officially fall now, so.
Yeah, it was. Even though it might have been fall on the previous week, it's been hot, so it didn't count. This was fall.
Yeah, this felt like fall. I mean, yesterday, I think up here it was raining and 50 degrees, so that is definitely October.
Oh, see, we didn't have any rain. We need rain, but we didn't get any.
Oh, man, yeah. It started, I mean, it spit a little bit, around the middle of the day, but then it started up here like at 7 o'clock at night, and when I woke up at, 5:30 this morning, it was still going.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had some beautiful racing weather yesterday, other than the dust. At least where I was.
Yes.
It was touched about 70 degrees, and it was kind of mix of clouds and sun. It was just kind of the sun would peek out for a little while, and then the clouds would kick back in, and it wasn't anything that got nasty. But we need the rain, but we didn't get it.
Just about perfect. Well, since we're already talking about where you were yesterday, let's just go ahead and start off with Wagler, and you had a little more success than your first round.
Yeah, I didn't do half bad. I guess I'll start with, I was in the pro class, which is not the top class in Waglers. They have an open class. I just didn't sign up for it. I pick one, pick the other. You're running the same track. It really doesn't matter. Barry Miller ran in that class, Ben Cottrell, myself, and another guy who I don't know his name. He was new to all of us. We'd never met him before. But, yeah, I ended up second. Ben broke an axle in the first heat, so that put him out. And then Barry and I and the other guy ran for the main event. And I got a bad takeoff, kind of. I mean, like, we all took off pretty well together. We hit the jump, the main jump, and Doug should have a picture. We hit it 3 wide in the air. So,
perfect.
Yeah. But when I landed, I actually got into the other guy, who that's what I'm just going to refer to him as, the other guy. I got into his tire a little, and it got me squirrely, which let Barry take off. He got in front, and then the other guy got just in front of me because it kicked me around a little. And it took me 3 laps to get around him finally, and then I checked out, and I was trying to reel Barry in, but I didn't have enough laps left to do it. So
yeah. Still, though, sounds like the machine's running pretty well on E85.
It is. Excuse me. It's running real well. We're still not tuned for clutching right. It's just I'm about 500 RPMs low of what I should be. And I was telling Doug this in messages earlier, but the ground was super soft. There's one picture, if we have it in here. If not, whatever. So we started out on level ground. By the time we got done, the berm was 5 feet high. We dug 5 feet into the ground, just turning laps.
It's pretty incredible, yeah.
But because the ground was so soft, and E85 you burn about 30% more, in 15 minutes in the last race, the final race, I went through a half tank of fuel. It's just chewing through fuel.
I'm just picturing your fuel line like collapsed, like it's just sucked it flat as it's trying to pull it out of the tank faster.
Oh man, the thing's got all kinds of power. It's every bit as fast as Barry's is right now, even being not clutched correctly. As soon as we get it clutched, that thing's going to be a monster to be reckoned with.
And maybe that's something our viewers should stay tuned for. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Yes, there are plans, and we're not revealing the plans yet. But yeah, we got plans to go take care of clutching stuff, and we're gonna go see some people and make a trip and all that fun junk. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. But, no, it was a good time. Waglers didn't have a big turnout either. They maybe had 15 or so cars, 15 or 20 cars, something like that total.
Okay.
It wasn't...
I mean, for late in the season, I can see that.
Yeah, and plus IXCR is on the same day, so
yeah,
they drew some. But it was a good course. They had it set up. There's a new series looking at starting in this area, really just doing UTVs and doing short course stuff. So I was talking to that guy, and he was trying to kind of gauge, because he doesn't do side-by-side so much. So it's kind of odd, but he's just a race series promoter. So I was helping them kind of get some of the jumps faced right and everything else. So, yeah, it was a good time. Good people showed up there. Got to just hang out. The weather was great. No complaints at all, other than the really soft ground. But I think I've said that every time I've gone to Waglers, that it's soft ground and there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah. Single seat machines. How many? Do you have a few of those show up?
There was 3 single seat machines. Only 2 were RS1s. The other one was a Razor XP1000 that had been converted to a single seater.
Oh, okay.
So he qualified. I mean, there's nothing saying it has to be an RS1. It just has to be a single seat machine, and it was. It had sheet metal, like aluminum, built around the passenger space, and the driver was just the only one who could sit in there. So he qualified.
Okay. So he didn't physically narrow the machine or anything?
Nope. It was a full width, full framed machine, just per normal.
Okay.
Jeremy from Nightcrawler Customs was racing, Alan Burton, and I cannot remember the guy in the XP1000 that had been converted to single seat. I just can't right now. It's escaping me. But anyway, last time Doug was out there, the race of the day was Jeremy and Alan Burton racing each other in those RS1s.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it pretty much was the same here. Maybe not. It wasn't as good of a race because they weren't all over each other like they were. But those two are pretty evenly matched. I think Jeremy's machine is just slightly faster on the top end, which doing short course stuff, he just can creep away from Alan little bit by little bit. But yeah, it was fun to watch him. Alan did put it over on its side.
Razor nap.
Yeah. Well, the good thing was, so in one spot, right where he put it on its side, we had dug down to, I think it's just sandstone. It's rock anyway. And that was a couple feet down. And the problem is when we got down to it, now it's just a hard chatter, and it's still off camber. And he got in there, and he just couldn't get any bite. And just went up and over and laid over in the real soft berm of dirt that we'd pushed off. So nothing hurt, just, a bunch of dirt in his lap and everything else. And they pushed it back over. And actually, Jeremy and the other guy, because Alan was in first when he did that, they stopped, turned around, came back, helped get his machine upright. And they said, "Do you want to start the whole race over again?" They were only 3/4 of a lap in or something. And they were because they wanted to race. They didn't just want to be given a position. Alan said, "Tell you what, you guys start just in front of me, and I'll start right behind you, and we'll have them just drop a hand, and we'll go from here." But, man, that was top quality sportsmanship there by those guys. Just, saying.
Yeah.
Because they could have just kept turning laps and put him a lap or two down pretty easy, and he would have been, completely out of it. Ended up, Alan finished second, Jeremy took first, and the XP1000 got third.
Okay. So
that was good. The pro class, the only two that signed up for the pro class were Barry Miller and Ben Cottrell, and they were running. Barry got in front of him, and then Ben ended up breaking an axle anyway, so that, it just took him out of it. He didn't have any pull on the back end. He was just pulling on the front.
Sure.
So Barry took first in pro. He took first in pro. He took first in open as well. So it was a good day, though. Man, can't complain. Like, everybody thought I was going to wreck my X3 again. Because
why would they think that?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I did nose it a little bit. It was nothing like it was before. But I did nose it over a little bit. And I came around the corner for like the start and finish line jump that's there. And I put it up on 2 wheels. And everyone's like, I thought you were rolling it over. I was like, I wasn't worried at all. I was just going to drive it on 2 wheels for a second until I got to where I was going. I mean, like, I wasn't worried at all. They were all like, I thought you were rolling it. I can drive it on 2 wheels the same as 4. What's the difference?
Well, that is the end of the season for Wagler. Unfortunately, we only got 2 races in this year because of all the COVID nonsense. But it seems like it's working out well, and if they're going to go ahead with a full season in 2021, that's going to be, what, at least 6 races?
Yeah, they're talking about, so if this other series steps in and kind of runs it on their site for them, they said that this other series is looking to do a full 12 races and be at Waglers at least 3 times a year, and then at other places 3 times a year, and kind of, fill in, maybe be at Waglers a 4th or 5th time, just kind of depending on Wagler's schedule. So we'll see how all that goes, but either way, I did talk to Trey, and he said if they don't pick them up and they're not going to do that, he said they'll at least do 5 or 6 or 7 events, something like that, next year for side-by-sides. So
there's going to be a lot of good options out there if you're been toying around with the idea of building a dedicated short course car, because they're definitely set up different than the IXCR. There's going to be good options for that.
Yeah. There's also another series that I've been kind of eyeing, and I didn't get into it this year. I just wasn't set up until I got this X3, and then I had to do some modifications to really get it to where I wanted it. But there's a series that runs in southern Indiana, and they really run mostly like trucks, and when I say buggies, I mean like literal Volkswagen sandrail type buggies.
Yeah.
And it's kind of short course, but it's really tame short course. Let me put it that way. Really flat jumps. Because, Volkswagens don't have a ton of power or anything.
No.
It's kind of short course / XC, but it's really tame stuff. And the owner of that series contacted me, midway through the season anyway. And he was saying, we'd love to get some more side-by-sides out here, just to have you guys run with everybody else. And I said, well, it's tough because a lot of us have already committed to a series at this point. So, I don't know that we'll make it this year, but they're the ones I've been eyeing of definitely doing some fill-in stuff of theirs because it's reasonably close. It looks to be super easy on the machines just because of how tame everything is, but I think some fast side-by-sides could go down there and really mop up.
Sure.
So...
Well, we're going to jump over to IXCR here. They ran as well yesterday. Not as good of a turnout as normal, but again, it's getting later in the season, and sometimes you just have conflicts. This time of the year especially, there's other things going on, and it gets a little bit harder to justify being out there. But still looks like we had 22 that finished and 5 DNFs, so not a bad turnout at all.
Yep.
And Craig Bowman was out there in the track worker class once again. And he finished first in the class.
There you go.
So we'll start at the other end, up in the heavy pro mod. Dwight Pollard was out there in his Can-Am, took first place. Cole Sequoia in second in the Yamaha there. Matt Lithgow is in a Can-Am X3, took third place, and Brandon Monsell was in fourth, and those were the plaque positions there. Moving a little further down, you've got Gary Manuel is in a Can-Am, finished in fifth. Michael Zeidel in his famous Polaris in sixth. Michael Simmons running the other Yamaha in the field in seventh. John Carter in eighth in a Polaris. Jason Wooford in ninth in a Can-Am. John Barnes in his Pro XP in 10th. And Michael Falk finished out the class in 11th in a Can-Am. And then Jared Ham DNF'd.
Yeah.
Sad days. We weren't out there, so we don't really know what happened. We're trying to scrape up some video. I think Jeff's going to come through for us on that. But if not, there won't be any video, and that's why. Yep. But we do have official results, so we wanted to bring those to you.
Yep. IXCR has a couple races left for the year. Is that right?
Yeah, they've got 2 more. So the next one on the schedule is a crop-dependent race on October 17th and 18th. So if the farmer's out of the field, they will race there. But there's no UTV there.
Okay.
Next UTV is round 10 on November 7th and 8th in Rockville, Indiana. And then the final round is round 11 on the 21st and 22nd at Lee Farms there in Martinsville.
Yep. Man, now I just realized November 7th is that short course race out in Missouri that I was going to go to. And that's also an IXCR. Man, that's a tough decision. Which one to hit?
Yeah. Well, maybe well, depending on how things look at that point, maybe one of your intrepid partners in this venture can go to one of the other ones. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see how that all plays out.
Yep.
Moving down to single pro mod, we've got Drew Moore from Attica, Indiana, finished in first, Mitch Wooford in second, Brad Ashby in third, and Cole Ham with a DNF in the number 4 spot. So obviously Polaris machines there since we're talking about single pros. In the heavies, Chad Cash in his Yamaha finished in first, Matt Hecker in second in his Can-Am, and then Rick Strange in third are the plaque positions. Chris Hedrick and Brandon Basham finished up 4th and 5th, both of them in Hondas, actually. Huh. Looks like Brandon Basham only turned 1 lap, though.
Oh.
But I'm telling you what, these were long, slow laps, relatively speaking, because in the heavy pro mods, Dwight Pollard and all the guys up there at the top, in 1 hour and 1 minute elapsed, only turned 4 laps.
Yeah, that's pretty low. Normally they're 5 or 6.
Yeah, so that was some slow going out there, or just a really long track, and I can't speak to which, but it definitely took them a little while to get around it.
Yeah, for sure.
Heavy limiteds, you got Logan Flanagan in first in a Polaris. Sean Pruitt finished in second in his YXZ, and Scott Heller finished in third in a Polaris. Clint Gould was a DNF. And then you had a trail rider, George Summers was down there just to see what the track was like. Got 1 lap in 54 minutes.
Woo.
In a Polaris. So might have been, Razor 170 for all we know. And then Craig Bowman in the infamous track worker class. He actually did pretty well again. He put in, let me see what the overall looks like here. His overall would have put him in 7th.
Yeah, that's about where he normally sits.
Yeah, he usually runs pretty well.
Yeah.
So looking at the overall there, Drew Moore actually finished in first. He was in the single pro mod.
Yeah.
And so he actually finished with the shortest elapsed time overall. Then Dwight Pollard pulled in there in second. Mitch Wooford, another single pro, in third. Cole Secoy in fourth. So yeah, the single pro mod's up there near the top, kind of where you normally expect them to be, mixing it up.
Yep. Yeah, in the XC racing, they're tough to compete with. I mean, even though they're down on horsepower and everything else, they're just tough.
Yeah. No, it's just a really, really solid platform, and being able to see both front wheels, although, I mean, you can't just sit there watching your tires the entire time. It does give you an interesting perspective that lets you thread the needle pretty well.
It does. Yep.
And they fly really good. I love watching those things go off of jumps.
They do. I kind of chuckled because Alan Burton and I were talking out at Waglers, and he's saying, "Oh, I just hit them all wide open." I was like, "Yeah, I can't." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" I'm like, "I go faster than you. I just can't hold my foot down and sail it off of there."
We've seen the results.
Yeah, it's not good when that happens. So
there's actually youth UTV action out there at IXCR as well, and Eli McLean finished in first in the youth senior. Brody Smith, Devin's son, finished in second, and that was actually enough for Brody Smith to sew it up for the year.
Yep, that gave him first place in the championship for the youth up there. So congratulations to him.
They do have an round 11, the November 21st, 22nd. They actually are running Youth Senior there one more time, so he doesn't need the points, but he could go out there and have some fun with it.
Yep.
Before he puts it up for the year. And then Luke Wathen was out there as well, finished in the number 3 spot, and looks like we had a couple DNFs in Kinzel Gould and Xander Venus. Finished, it looks like they didn't even finish, no laps DNFs, so... But like to give everybody who actually took the time to get out there a shout out. So it sounds like seems like from the amount of DNFs and from the slow lap times, it was overall a pretty challenging layout.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So that's what we've got in terms of show content there. We talked about the IXCR stuff that's coming up. And AXCC is coming up pretty quick here.
Yep, there's an AXCC here pretty soon. That Eureka short course one is in November 7th, so that's that. Extreme also has one more this year. That's a couple weeks out.
So round 6 of AXCC is October 17th, so that's going to be 2 weeks-ish from today, from the time we're recording this.
Right.
So that's going to be over in Park Hills, Missouri, and then the championship weekend is October 31st, and that's back at Mid-America Outdoors in Jay, Oklahoma.
Yep. I think that's the same weekend as Extreme, if I remember right, for AXCC, this next one.
That sounds right. I'm looking right now for their schedule.
And they're out at Michael Plank's house.
Yes, they are. They're October 17th and 18th is the one out at Plank's house in Rockville.
Yep. So I did talk to Sarah and Michael Plank's wife, and she said we were okay to talk about this, Doug. I don't know if I mentioned it to you. But Michael Plank, at the last race we were at, the last Extreme race, when we were all out there, I guess it was just a week ago, isn't that right?
Yeah.
He ended up, we all kind of saw him and didn't really think he was acting like his normal self. Several of us asked him a few times, you all right? You're just not acting like your normal self and all that. And he's like, yeah, I'm okay, just not feeling the greatest or whatever it was. Ended up, later that night, he had a stroke after the race. Like, he did the full race, he drove home, and then he had the stroke. So he's doing okay. He's out of the hospital. He's home now. But just shout out to Michael Plank and his family. Man, get better, buddy. Want to see you back out there as soon as you can, but don't rush it. We'll hold down the fort until you get out there again. But hopefully he can at least get around at his place at the Extreme race and just come and hang out with all of us.
Yeah, bud, we're all pulling for you. Sorry to hear about it, but glad you're on the road to recovery, that everything's coming together for you there. And if there's anything we can do for you, just give us a shout.
Yeah. His wife wrote some really nice stuff about kind of, our little race family group that we got, and it was, pretty touching. Basically, like, we all mean a lot to each other, and we know that, so.
Yeah.
But it was good. We were all checking on him like multiple times a day. How's it going? I'm messaging his mom and like, have you heard anything? I don't want to bug Sarah. And she would relay some answers to me, and I'd pass them on to the rest of the guys and all that.
I thought about that when I was talking to him. I was like, I don't mean to be annoying because you're probably getting this from a million different people right now, but
right.
So after a while, I realized you had that covered. I'm like, I'm just going to let you, because I'm trying to eliminate the traffic going their way, because it gets kind of cumbersome when you're, answering 500 messages a day.
Yeah, and I'm sure Sarah, Mike's wife, was answering questions from family members and everybody else.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to go through his mom, and she could relay the messages that way.
Yeah.
So, but he's doing all right. He's on the mend. He actually goes back to work, I think tomorrow is what he said. I sent him a message in the racers chat we have and kind of gave him some helpful tips. I said, lay on the ground and twitch some. They'll let you stay home from work longer.
Yeah. So, pro tip of the day, do not take advice from Chad.
Don't do that.
Well, I can't think of a better possible way to put a bow on this show than to thank our sponsors. course, we got CW Motorsports, our title sponsor this year, but we also got Spang's Fab, who makes fantastic aftermarket accessories for your UTV, including full race cages and everything else you could possibly want to make that thing bulletproof out there in the track.
Yep.
And once you get all that wonderful stuff built, you can ship it over to Matt Price at 834 Powder Coat, and he will make it beautiful for you once it's done.
Yep.
And we've got Watch Communications on board, who hosts the podcast and the website and all of our media and stuff. And I'm not really sure what they're getting out of this deal, but we really, really appreciate you being along for the ride.
Don't bring that up. Don't let them ask that question.
Speaking of our website, you can find us on the web at eminentperformance.com, Facebook and Instagram, Eminent Racing, YouTube / Eminent Performance. And if you're looking for the podcast version, just go to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you happen to find your podcast, and look for Eminent Performance, and you'll find us there as well.
Yep.
And if it's not too big of a deal, send us, just drop us a like or a comment, or, you love us, you hate us, whatever. Just any attention is better than no attention. So if you could do that or subscribe, depending on the platform you're on, that definitely helps us grow.
Yep, for sure.
All right. Any other housekeeping, or are we good?
No, stay tuned. We got some stuff coming up. Man, there's stuff going on even like in the off season. I mean, we're getting ready for the Texplex, 12 hours of racing down there. Steve Mueller, myself, Devin, and we're trying to see who else is going. We're heading out to King of Hammers beginning of next year, so we're trying to get ready for that. And we're not just going to watch; we're going to participate. So,
well, I'm sure there are going to be people out there that need water handed to them, and tires moved from location to location. So good on you.
No. We're doing a bit more than that.
I love it.
So, there's big stuff planned going on. So stay tuned. As the race season kind of wraps up, we'll get definitely more sporadic with our uploads. We won't do a weekly show because honestly, there's just nothing to talk about when there's no racing going on unless there's an event. So we'll get a little more sporadic with our shows, but there's also going to be some longer videos and multiple part videos like we were talking about with going out to Texplex for a 12-hour race. We'll break that up into a few probably, and King of Hammers will definitely be more than one. Because that's a long trip out and a lot to do there and a lot to see there. So
for sure. In the meantime, stay tuned. Thanks for riding along with us, and we'll see you out at the track.
All right, see you guys.